Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day whenever you're at and whenever you're watching this. Today we are yet again jumping into the SCP universe with the Exploring series. We're going to be checking out SCP-3935, This Thing a Quiet Madness Made. So don't really have any ideas or I guess notions of what this video is going to pertain, what it's going to be about. So don't really have anything to say as far as that goes. But as you can see here, we are doing this reaction live from our YouTube members. If you would like to come and join the discussions that we have before, during, and after, there's a join button down below. You can click that and come hang out. We'd love to have you guys in here, join our discussions. We'd love to talk to you guys and get your opinions on some of these things. And you can also get up to a week's worth of early access for a lot of my videos and a bunch of other benefits. So click the join button, see if that has any interest for you. There will also be links below in the description to the original video here in the Exploring series channel. So if you do me a favor, click those links. If you enjoyed this video of his, give it a like. If you enjoyed the Exploring series content, give the man a sub. Definitely deserves it. Makes a lot of great content for the SCP universe as well as others. So with all that being said, we're going to jump into this video. Again, this is the SCP, the Exploring Series Foundation, SCP-2935, This Thing a Quiet Madness Made. Let's jump into it here.
SCP-3935, This Thing a Quiet Madness Made. A scandal erupts in a small town involving a pregnant high schooler that leads to shaming, police involvement, and suicide.
Yikes.
While this might sound like a typical made-for-TV movie,
Right, yeah.
you know that an SCP report is going to be far stranger than that.
Yeah.
SCP-3935 is another in a line of SCPs that is more about the events revolving around an anomaly than the actual anomaly itself. This SCP contains a number of illusions within itself, and everything might not be entirely clear at first glance, but I'll break it down as best as I can. SCP-3935 revolves around the small, fictional town of Salvation, Indiana, which has since been...
Salvation, Indiana? I mean, Hawkins, Indiana, Stranger Things, high school. I'm just saying, borrowing some themes, just saying. Anyway.
Around the small, fictional town of Salvation, Indiana, which has since been evacuated and quarantined by the Foundation.
Interesting.
3935 itself is an extratemporal, extraspatial, non-Euclidean space located beneath Salvation High School.
Bro, the Stranger Thing intro hits hard, I'm not gonna lie. That music it's still dope. I'm just saying.
Non-Euclidean space located beneath Salvation High School.
Interesting.
Meaning it doesn't...
Is this gonna be kind of like a Poltergeist thing where, I don't know, for whatever reason, him saying that made me think of Poltergeist. With them making a town on some kind of ancient burial ground or whatever, and so these spirits are unhappy about it, and they start, fucking with people. Which, Poltergeist is a great movie, by the way. It's definitely one of Spielberg's better movies from the early 80s. I think that came out the year I was born, along with E.T. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, let's continue. It's neither here nor there.
Space located beneath Salvation High School, meaning it doesn't follow our normal rules of time, space, or geometry.
Interesting.
The actual anomaly itself isn't greatly understood, however, and its effects seem to cover the entire town of Salvation.
Really?
3935 is reached only by going through a collapsed section of sub-basement underneath the school, through a small antechamber with a stone arch. Inscribed in the arch are the words, "The way below winds deeper, longer, unspeakable its patterns laid. The lost forever damned to wander, this thing a quiet madness made."
Interesting. I couldn't help but think about the quote from Lord of the Rings, "The way is shut and we keep it." That whole quote. That popped in my head as soon as you said that. But so they enter through an archway and there's a saying on there. Interesting. Like, who put that there?
Antechamber with a stone arch. Inscribed in the arch are the words, "The way below winds deeper, longer, unspeakable its patterns laid. The lost forever damned to wander, this thing a quiet madness made." Most of the 3930.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been mentioning in comments that there's a lot of other stuff related to Summer of 76 that I need to check out. I mean, it's because the high school got my senses up. I mean, maybe, but it could be, yeah. But like you're saying, there's a lot of people in some of the comments of the videos have been saying that there's some other stuff to check out related to Summer of 76. So definitely piqued my interest.
A quiet madness made. Most of the 3935 report is about a series of paranormal events that occurred between April 18th and April 23rd, 1976.
Call the Ghostbusters. Oh,
the
there it
first
is.
team on the scene to investigate
76.
the events were from the FBI's Unusual Incidents Unit. The UIU is a division within the FBI that handles paranormal artifacts and anomalies on behalf of the US government.
Okay.
But they are often in way over their head compared to the SCP Foundation.
X-Files.
The
Got Mulder
UIU
and
agents
Scully.
conducted extensive interviews of the population in order to establish a timeline of events for the week. On Sunday night, 2 high school girls were walking home from a night church service and reported hearing a voice while passing by the high school, sounding like someone was trying to speak from under the ground. One of them told their mother, but she ignored it. On Monday, several students claim that they can hear voices coming from underneath the pool, but school officials don't notice anything unusual. Several female students in a second-story bathroom report seeing faceless things in the mirrors instead
Yikes.
of themselves, although for some reason they aren't bothered by this. During the lunch
That would creep me the fuck out. How are you look at the mirror and see a faceless thing reflecting back at you and not be bothered by it? What? Obviously that's normal, not normal, like...
although for some reason they aren't bothered by this. During the lunch announcements over the PA system, many students report hearing a third voice, in addition to the normal 2 students speaking, talking unintelligibly. The report notes that the PA room is near the pool and the collapsed sub-basement. Students arriving to school on Tuesday note that the Indiana state flag is floating 3 meters above the flagpole, and the American flag is missing. Students also claim to see 9 female figures hanging by ropes from the flagpole, although they disappear immediately after being seen. In a biology class, a student that no one recognizes and is not listed among the Salvation population suddenly stands up, rolls their eyes back, and descends through the floor. They later reappear above a ceiling panel, and several of the other students insist it was a joke. So far, we see a common theme of many people in Salvation.
How are you gonna make a joke about a person rolling their eyes back and then going through the floor and then floating above another floor? That's not a fucking joke, dude. Like, that's a goddamn magic trick at that point. That's not it. Like, if that's a real person and they did that intentionally, dudes, where's the fucking, like, call David Blaine, you know what I'm saying, man? Like, that's a hell of a talent.
Dismissing. So far, we see a common theme of many people in Salvation dismissing paranormal events
for real,
as if they were normal. Another unidentified student was seen around school, although no one can remember any details about their appearance other than they possessed a purple satchel with the word syncope on it, a term connected to the Class of 76 group of interest.
Yeah.
A custodian also reports seeing something in the pool, staring at him. On Wednesday, maintenance and custodial staff notice that the entire school is covered in 2 inches of water, but the principal decides not to close the school.
What?
At 7:56 a.m., the entire school hears someone whisper, "Hello," into their right ear.
Okay, that was a little creepy, actually. That was unexpected, hearing the little whisper in my ear right there. That was a little Yeah, that was unexpected. That gave me a little chill there for a second. Okay. Mr. Exploring Serious, let's not do that, you know. Okay. Okay, brother.
A word we'll see crop up multiple times in the report. The school band finds their instruments no longer produce sound, but instead cause some small, black, human-shaped thing to flicker in and out of view in the corner
For real,
of the room.
dude.
One student sees a dark figure walking away from the school through the air at an impossible angle, eventually moving out of sight. On Thursday, a senior avoids a dodgeball as it phases through him, but then begins to sink through the floor screaming for help. No one who noticed seems motivated enough to help.
This really does feel almost kind of like Poltergeist, but in a school with people who like don't give a shit. Like it's strange enough that the anomalies are happening, but then why is it that no one cares? Is it like a situation where the stuff that's happening to these people, everyone then around them actually doesn't see it? They don't perceive it? Or I guess they did say that this is something where it happens like time is distorted here. So I guess potentially some of these things could be happening in different times, different timelines. Multiversal shit could be happening at this school. Someone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that potentially could explain it, but like otherwise it's like, what is going on with you people? What do you mean?
The entire school moves vertically a foot off of its foundation, and the vice principal sees something small, grinning at him with too many faces underneath the school before it settles back down.
Okay. Okay.
The boys' locker rooms disappear and are replaced with something that screamed, although no one can provide any more details than that. As the students leave, they notice 9 young women floating in the air above the parking lot, each mouthing words silently. All witnesses describe the girls' appearances as both ugly and unremarkable, and they vanish at 3 p.m., at which point almost the entire town hears a child's voice saying hello underneath them.
Thank God I didn't do that shit in my ear.
In contrast to other paranormal events, the town actually panics over the floating girls, and the principal closes the school for Friday.
Huh. So, the floating girls creeps everyone out to the point where they close the school, but the entire town simultaneously hearing someone say hello. I mean, I guess that could be played off of everyone just being like, oh, what was that? And just like, you know, not giving it any mind, but I don't know, man. That's weird.
Despite this, all of the students still show up to school on Friday, waiting in front of the locked doors. None of them can say exactly why they're there. They hear a knock on a window and look up to the second floor to see a small black humanoid figure floating outside of a classroom. It begins to phase in and out of multiple windows, and students describe its movement as jerky and erratic.
This one is definitely very weird. I mean, it does kind of actually feel kind of like inspired by Poltergeist in a way, with all kinds of weird, again, paranormal stuff happening. But like you said at the beginning, this is like, I guess, you know, like a multi-dimensional thing happening underground, you know, from this that can affect the whole town. So like time and like, I don't know. Everything just seems out of whack here. I just wonder where it's going to go. And I guess it seems to have ties in with the 76 stuff. Yeah. Yeah. All of Summer of 76, Cinescope Symphony stuff is super weird. For sure. This definitely seems like this is going to be one I'm going to have to do a follow-up for as well. And do a deeper dive into to like really kind of understand what's going on. Yeah, the field trip one was pretty wacky, yeah.
The figure finally disappears. The front doors suddenly unlock, and the students all enter. Geometry inside of the school has become non-Euclidean, and as the students walk through the school, they find they are actually moving downwards. All students are now hearing whispers. Some hear drums in the distance, and they also see the arch leading to the entrance of SCP-3935. Suddenly, all of the students shift 50 meters into solid rock and earth, where they are encased for 20 seconds before shifting back.
Jesus.
All students later report being the only one in the building at the time, and each says they wandered around for a while before coming across a doorway below a doorway, finally entering the sub-basement. They each report seeing 3 separate visions. A woman crouched over a body of water with her arms in the water and blood surrounding her feet. A burning farmhouse in a grove of trees with 9 female humanoid figures floating in the air. And a woman crying and digging in a field until her hands begin to rot and fall off.
God.
After the visions, the small black humanoid appears, says hello, 9 screaming females appear, and then the students find themselves in their own homes. At this point, UIU agents began administering amnestics to the town, using an early, rather toxic chemical that tended to cause severe damage to human memory centers.
Nice.
Additional anomalous activity
Might as well just like lobotomize them at that point, you know what I mean?
damage to human memory centers. Additional anomalous activity is reported throughout the town, such as bodies floating in the sky, human hair and mucus flowing out of taps instead of water,
disgusting.
reports of feeling like their facial features were missing, and reports of faceless creatures around the town.
Bro, I'd move out of this place so goddamn quick if stuff like this started happening. I'm gone, brother. I'm out.
A completely still, black humanoid entity is seen appearing and reappearing up and down the main thoroughfare. One woman reports witnessing a crying young woman run into the school and followed her. Although she couldn't find her, she did find the collapsed sub-basement and reported it. The UIU amnestics set in, and most people become convinced that all they saw were hallucinations caused by toxic gases from a factory.
Chemical spill.
The entrance to 3935 is found by contractors, and shortly afterwards, the SCP Foundation comes in. The Foundation sends in a 3-man team to explore the area underneath the sub-basement, making it the first documented entry into SCP-3935.
Just a 3-man team.
They remark that the air feels funny, and the walls are continuing to narrow, until suddenly, one of them falls inexplicably out of sight.
Yikes, bro.
The other 2 hear something behind them, and continue to squeeze forward until they pop out into a larger space. As they look around the space, they notice fog covering the entire chamber, and across a narrow stone bridge, they see a massive structure carved out of stone that heavily resembles the Salvation High School. Beneath the structure is another one, also resembling the school, and beneath that, another one, although they're unsure how far down it goes.
So it's like there's like what I'm trying to say here. Like each of those schools represent one in a different dimension, different timeline, whatever. You know what I mean? And if you were to like jump down to that one or whatever, you could go to that school in that dimension, that time, whatever. You know what I mean? Is this like a gateway that literally goes through different times and dimensions that just happen to be centered on the school? Like, is that what's going on? And like you're seeing echoes of different people and events that have happened at that spot at different times or something like that. I don't know. This is very strange. This is very strange. Something very strange has definitely happened there that is like broke space and time or something. Foundation shows up, see bad, how bad a job the UIU is doing, and they're like, okay, shit is way weirder here, let's handle this, then shit gets even weirder. Yeah, for real. For real.
They now notice above the stone bridge are 9 female figures, their faces obscured by long white hair.
Yeah, what's with the 9 female figures? That's obviously a repeated thing that's going on in the story and I guess maybe is tied in somehow with the other field trip one. Maybe I don't know, but like I'm trying to like put together what that something clearly happened to them. I guess maybe they're trapped there in some like I don't know.
The females appear to rapidly teleport backwards until they reach the school entrance, at which point their faces become visible, and the two Foundation personnel recoil. The females disappear, but the agents hear many voices whispering in the distance, so they head towards the school.
And also, what is it like when someone actually sees their face? They're just like, "Oh my god, you're fucking hideous!" Like what? What is that about?
The geometry of this stone replica is non-Euclidean, making things increasingly confusing. Unrecognizable faces watch them through windows as they walk through the school, and they finally reach the auditorium. The 9 female figures appear around one of the agents, their movements erratic and their bodies contorted, and suddenly both them and the agent disappear, leaving only one left.
Interesting.
The females reappear, silently following the last agent, until he comes face to face with a small black humanoid figure sitting upside down on the ceiling. This figure says one word, "Hello." A bell tolls for 20 seconds, the agent's camera goes out, and a snapping noise is heard.
Yikes.
Each of the 3 agents' radios come back on over the next few hours, in a combination of screaming, laughing, and rambling nonsense. They mention darkness down below.
Yeah, that's giving me Event Horizon vibes. I haven't watched that movie in forever. I need to watch Event Horizon again. That's such a good movie. But yeah, that just gives me kind of like Event Horizon vibes. Where like they're taken into another dimension and are showing all kinds of weird shit or something like that, and it breaks their minds. They go insane. I don't know. Interesting.
Below, and nonsense, in a combination of screaming, laughing, and rambling nonsense. They mention darkness down below, and the 10th down below is the madness, waking something up. The transcription mentions wet choking sounds and splashing, so water or some other liquid must be involved. An unidentified voice says hello again, and finally all 3 radios go silent permanently.
Like, is it a situation where like all of these girls may have been like murdered and drowned, and so like anyone who goes through there like is experiencing this? Because there is a repeated theme of like water and yeah, these like 9 girls, and I don't know. It's very strange.
The Foundation continued to note a number of anomalous activities occurring in Salvation after the town was evacuated. They report seeing a figure dressed as a UIU agent trying to direct people towards the school that disappears upon close examination.
So again, it's like a time fucky thing. Seeing that's kind of what I think is happening is like part of it might be different times from different dimensions overlapping this one space, so you're like seeing things that are happening from a different time at a different time that are like happening. I don't know, it's weird to explain. Like,
one agent reported seeing a small black figure underneath his vehicle that also disappeared, but they continued to report seeing it in their peripheral vision.
yeah, see, I think like the black figures are something else on top of the time and dimension things happening, on top of the girls and the potential whispers and like maybe them being drowned or murdered or something like that. Like, I think there's like multiple layers of things going on here.
Many reports of sounds coming from a grove of trees near the high school, where there was a dilapidated house and 9 things in the backyard, although the data is expunged. 9 hanging female figures drive off the exploration team, and the house was unable to be located again. The 9 females were often seen after dark, each with extremely distended features or no features at all. Jerkily.
And then that happen when, like, you know, bodies get bloated from being like in water and like rotting away in water, or like they puff up,
moving towards agents, only to disappear before reaching them. Multiple reports of bodies floating in a pond outside of town before sinking and disappearing, although no more than 9 at a time. The report suggests that this is...
Wasn't that also similar in the field trip one? Wasn't it like 9 bodies, or am I misremembering that? Because like I thought in the field trip one, like there would be like 1 body at first and someone would recognize it, and then more would show up to like 9 or something. I thought I remember the number 9 being involved in that one as well in some way, but I could be misremembering.
Likely connected to the 9 things behind the house in the grove, possibly alluding to graves. We finally get some answers, although perhaps not all of them.
Pork tenders would be great
from
right
an
now.
Interview conducted in 2002 with a woman who taught at the school in 1976.
Remembering 12 for some reason.
Unfortunately,
I mean, I could very well be misremembering. I could be thinking about something else, so.
Unfortunately, due to the toxic amnestics used on the town, her memory is rather faulty. The woman recalls that Salvation was a quiet and tight-knit community that barely had any crime. She says that kids would go out into the woods and rile each other up about ghosts they thought they saw out there. And she does mention seeing strange things, like seeing someone waving on the street and then disappearing. She thinks it was just kids playing pranks, although if you remember, it was common for the people of Salvation to brush off paranormal events as jokes. After being asked about the high school, she says that they had a student disappear once, and she was last seen by the pool. She then switches her pronoun and says that nobody ever saw them again, and people ended up saying they just ran away.
Interesting.
She says some of them were problem children, and maybe it was better for them.
Is this something where like the townspeople like killed a group of girls or whatever because they didn't like them for whatever reason, and like now these girls are like haunting this place? I don't know. This one's strange. There's a lot of different things happening that could go in a lot of different ways.
She goes on to say that the church was very important in town, and a girl got pregnant out of wedlock, causing quite a scandal. A lot of people were very upset about it, but the woman doesn't even remember the girl's name. She recalls that the girl came to her once and told her that she was hearing a knocking sound while sitting on the bleachers. The girl also said she saw things sometimes, and curiously, the woman says that the girl said hello too many times, like it was the only word she knew. The woman also uses the word hello a number of times randomly through the interview.
Interesting.
They apparently found a cheerleader hanging in the woods in an apparent suicide, although she's not quite sure it was the same girl. She had a handwritten note in her hand, with a strange drawing of a building on one side, and a single word repeated over and over on the other. The woman thinks the word was wet or something similar, although she doesn't remember. She recalls seeing a hallucination of a boy floating into a wall and crying for help, but she again writes it off as a prank. When questioned about the sub-basement, the woman shifts uncomfortably and says that the girl asked about it once, as she apparently heard noises coming from it. According to the woman, the girl was very interested in it. Finally, the interviewer shows the woman a picture of the 9 female figures, and the woman becomes noticeably pale and short of breath, before saying that those are the cheerleaders, but she's pretty sure there were 10 of them. So, we have the aftermath of a story, but we'll have to sort of piece together the story itself.
Yeah, this one, like I said, there seems to be a lot going on in this one, like layered on top of each other. Like, I don't know. I can't really tell exactly what's happening here. Clearly, there's something strange going on with the townsfolk. They're kind of just brushing off the idea of any of this paranormal stuff as like, you know, whatever. They're seeing all kinds of weird things happening, kids floating and disappearing through things, potentially seeing visions of things that could be from maybe different times. The reoccurring theme though are these 9, you know, black entities, or these 9 girls being hung from a tree. And then, you know, that woman now just at the end that said, oh, she thought there was 10. And then they actually do find one girl who is seemingly committed suicide with a note in her hand. So like, is this just like a occurring theme that's happening in like a time loop in this town, where this girl, or maybe series of girls, keep getting persecuted for whatever reason, and they go and they end up committing suicide because, I guess, you know, the reoccurring theme with them too is that they're ugly, I guess. You know, when people actually see their face, they like actually physically recoil, like that's how ugly they are, I guess. So maybe they get bullied or made fun of and yada yada, so it gets to a point where they commit suicide, kind of a situation. And I don't know. There's a lot of different layers of things going on. I think you might be right. Might be referencing kids from the field trip. Something, dude. I don't know. There's a lot of different things happening here, though.
As it's mired in symbolism, faulty
Right.
memories, and incomplete data. The story itself is about a scandal in a small town involving a pregnancy, an abortion, and suicide. But remember that this is an SCP,
Right.
and the SCP itself is located beneath the high school.
Mm-hmm.
This SCP is not very well understood, but it seems to
And it said that it's like it's one that it's non-Euclidean. It could fuck with time and all kinds of shit.
be somewhat sentient and capable of communication, as well as affecting the town in strange ways. We have reports of strange activity for a while in town that were dismissed or otherwise ignored. A high school cheerleader becomes pregnant out of wedlock, a huge scandal, and the girl becomes increasingly interested in the space beneath the school.
Which, I mean, is that are they trying to also indicate that maybe it was like an immaculate thing, that like maybe the SCP impregnated her somehow? It's like maybe she didn't know, and then all of a sudden she's, you know, pregnant or something like that. You know, they don't really get into how the girl got pregnant. They just say she got pregnant and it was a scandal. Like, and so it's like, what's the scandal behind that? You know what I mean? Like, we need more information about that.
The SCP there seems to communicate with her, speaking the word hello and showing her the extra-dimensional space. She eventually is driven to drowning her baby in the pool, and then disappears.
Oh.
How do the other 9 cheerleaders fit in? Since no one recognizes them or can remember their names at this point, it's assumed that they did something heinous,
Similar, yeah.
which fits with how they are mentioned to have ugly faces. Did they bully the other girl? Did they burn down the house in the grove, or was that the townspeople? Did they commit suicide themselves, or were they killed?
That's kind of what I think is happening. I think all of those girls had like a reoccurring, like each one of them were individuals, but like the same process played out for them, and they all ended up committing suicide. They were all persecuted by the town, or maybe this SCP, you know, didn't like them for some reason and sent the town against them and bullied them to the point where they committed suicide. That's kind of what I think is something that's going on.
We can assume the small black humanoid figure is the aborted baby, but much of the report contains small allusions and metaphors that are frankly lost in this summarization. It is clear, however, that this SCP is about secrets, judgment, suffering, shame, and the urge to bury it all and forget about it. Like I said, in many ways, this is a story familiar to you, told through countless books and films, but this just happens to include the weird oddities of an SCP.
Is that a Pizza Hut?
It isn't that unusual to have a religious small town that shames a young girl because of her actions.
Of course.
And it isn't that crazy that the young girl would be driven to suicide. The realistic aspects of this SCP make it that much more interesting, as we can appreciate the horror of this thing a quiet madness made.
What do we got over the quote? It is currently believed that the original inhabitants of Salvation are unable to reproduce. Deviation from this expectation is to be closely monitored. Interesting. So I mean, that would be a big piece of the puzzle then. So then if the inhabitants of this town aren't able to reproduce for whatever reason, and then a woman all of a sudden gets pregnant somehow, obviously that would make some people very envious of them. You know what I mean? Because they would be able to have a child, you know, and obviously there would be other people that would want to have a child, they can't for whatever reason, and so they could potentially be ostracized for that. I don't know. Yeah, this one and the last one we follow up sounds like actual articles have more details. Yeah, this one for sure I definitely want to do another follow-up video on, see if either look at the article itself or see if anyone else has another video that goes into more depth of this. And I'm just curious if it ties in with Field Trip at all. But I mean, it seems like there's definitely a lot of layers going on. It seems like there is an SCP that may have some kind of sentience itself that could be messing with people. Maybe it takes over the town. Maybe the SCP is a lot of the townspeople itself. And maybe there's, I don't know. And it's like, you know, okay, so if no one in this town came pregnant, then how is it that this woman all of a sudden gets pregnant? How did the woman get pregnant? Did they get pregnant by another, you know, actual human person in the town? Did the SCP impregnate them? You know, and maybe that's why the girl is killing the baby, because, you know, they get brought to this SCP entity. The SCP entity shows them this, you know, weird space-time, and then shows them the truth that this SCP entity impregnated them, and that this is, you know, what the offspring is going to be, that drives the woman crazy and decides to kill the baby because the baby is some kind of strange non-human thing or something like that. They, you know, because if it's like a religious town, they could think it's like a demon child or something like that, something of the devil, so they would, you know, want to kill it for fear of, you know, God's judgment, or I don't know, some kind of religious, you know, belief behind something like that. You know, maybe that's the case. I don't know, but there definitely seems to be a lot of stuff going on in this one, and it definitely leaves a lot more questions to be asked than what are answered. You know, like, why are people, you know, walking in different weird ways, being able to walk above things, below things? Why people are seeing like visions of people and then them disappearing? Is it like, you know, are there also like weird time events, multi-universal things that are happening where you're seeing, you know, things from a different universe and time that are happening right then and there from another timeline that are like blinking into this dimension for a split second? You know, I don't know. There's all kinds of like weird stuff that could potentially be happening. So I'll see about doing a follow-up to this one again eventually, but very fascinating. I definitely want to learn more about this. So, but yeah, that's gonna do it for this one, guys. That was SCP-3935, this thing a quiet madness made, which actually my theory about, you know, the SCP impregnating a woman and, you know, her killing it because of that could potentially fit into the title there. This thing would be the baby, a quiet madness made. The quiet madness is whatever the SCP entity is. So, I don't know. I guess, like I said, we'll find out if I can find something to follow up with. But anyway, so yeah, this was SCP-3935, this thing a quiet madness made. Links will be down below in the description to the original video and channel. Do me a favor, click those links if you enjoyed this video from the Exploring series. Give it a like. Check out the Exploring series channel, please. He makes a lot of great content for the SCP universe as well as others. So check out his YouTube page, and if you like his content, give the man a sub. Definitely deserves some love. We're doing this live from our YouTube members, as you can see. So if you would like to come in and join the discussions before, during, and after we do these live reactions, we'd love to have you guys come in here. You can also get early access up to a week to a lot of my videos. There's a sub, Discord, etc., etc. So check all that stuff out. There's a join button down below, as well as a link down in the description. So yeah, check those out, see if any of that has any interest for you. Regardless, I just appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to come in and hang out, check out the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider leaving a like and a sub. That helps me, that helps the channel grow. And yeah, thank you very much. Hope you're having a wonderful day whenever you're watching this. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, everyone.